It's funny. When I first started making these editorials, Superman was a character I did not care a whole lot about, mostly because I hadn't read much from up to that point, and he was not a character I thought I would dedicate at least 3 entire essays to. Until then, I had the same complaints that a lot of similar-minded people did. He's too perfect, he's too overpowered, he's too good, blah, blah, blah. It wasn't until I started to actively study him and read more of his stories that I started to realize how wrong I was. Not that he was too overpowered or superficial stuff like that. There's still some merit to those complaints. But what I failed to realize in my more cynical early years is those aren't the point of Superman. The powers don't really matter, the villains don't really matter, and even the superheroics, to an extent, don't really matter. That's not what Superman is about. Superman is meant to exemplify the best we can be as a people, while showing how much of a struggle it is to do so. None of what Superman does comes easy. It takes constant willpower despite the strength at his disposal, all so he can inspire the world to be their best too. But being inspiration does not come from nothing. You don't just choose to be what others want to be. You have to learn how to be that way. You need to take inspiration from others, and you need to keep finding that inspiration or else fall into the all too common cynical trappings that can drag you down. So the important question becomes, what or who inspires the one who is supposed to inspire us? The short answer? We do. And there's no better place to explore that than with the story Superman Up in the Sky, written by Tom Kane with art by Andy Kubert. Up in the Sky is a series of vignettes that all pertain to Superman's mission to save a little girl, a young foster girl who is kidnapped under mysterious circumstances and taken to the reaches of unknown space. The story starts with Batman informing her of the abduction, how during the abduction, her foster parents were murdered, along with 2 out of 3 of her foster sisters. Superman visits the only other survivor in the hospital, healing from a gunshot wound. She tells Superman that the girl's name is Alice, and she was taken to the sky clutching a Superman toy. As Clark Kent, he tries to convince Perry White, the Daily Planet's editor-in-chief, to let him look into the murder and kidnapping. But Perry rejects his proposal, because it's only one kid, and there are a lot bigger news stories out there. As Superman, he asks Green Lantern to help, but he tells him that they lost track of the kidnapper after they took a counterfeit Zeta beam, an untraceable teleportation beam. The only one that knows how to trace it, the Ronians, are stonewalling the Green Lantern Corps at every turn. They'll continue to look, but the universe is pretty big, and they're all pretty small. Clark grapples with what to do. He could pursue the lead, as Batman suggests, but Superman says that it could take weeks or months, that's if he's lucky, and he has other responsibilities here. Batman says he does too, but points out a very important distinction between Superman and everyone else. We're who we are, and you're Superman. He's haunted by the decision, trying to justify to himself why he shouldn't go after her, even to Pa Kent. He tells Pa that the Green Lantern Corps will find her, that they can do more than he can. But Pa retorts that they probably will, unless they don't. At which point, a little girl will be lost, alone, and scared, waiting and waiting for someone to save her, holding that hope until the very end. Shortly after, Batman informs him the foster girl in the hospital passed away, and Clark knows what he has to do. He sits with Lois on top of the Daily Planet, telling her what he's going to do. Lois reminds him of the danger that faces the world every day, how he can't save everyone. No, I can't, replies Superman. But maybe I can save her. With that, Lois gives her blessing and promises to do her best not to fall off any buildings in his absence. Although, as she points out, it is part of her brand, so no promises. The next day, he grounds himself one last time before up, up, and away. His first stop is the planet Ron, home of the Zeta beams, where he meets a local specialist who tells him what he told the Corps. The problem isn't that they don't have the tracking data for the counterfeit Zeta beam. The problem is that there's too much of it. Because a Zeta beam exists everywhere all at once. It's literally impossible to parse out the data. Even their computers designed to create stars weren't enough, returning only the ominous message, I can't. So Superman does the only thing he can. He asks to be exposed to the data directly, forcefully pushed into his mind. The specialist tells him that what he aimed to do is impossible. It can't be done. There's no way of knowing how his mind will react.